Pranams at the lotus feet of Shri Sadguru. Pranams to Swamiji. Uh, Thank you, Saira, for your kind words. And I presume that my colleagues and other friends are participating in this session. With this hope, let me start. It was wonderful to listen to Swamiji at the beginning, and as he has precisely said, I've been watching the functioning of those organizations. Since start, I was a co-runner of this organization since its inception in academic activities. And I'm extremely happy the way it promotes academics, pretty unlike the departments of philosophy and Sanskrit, which should have done all these things which Swamiji is undertaking. And as he has precisely said, it is partially academic and a lot towards praxis. And precisely this is the target of Indian philosophy. Prayojana Vichara is an ingredient, an essential ingredient in every conceptualization in this land. So hats off to this institution and its leading spirit, Swamiji, whom I regard a lot with his permission. Let me share some of my thoughts on women education, the key to peace and prosperity. And I thought that in this seminar, which is titled Right Education is the Key to Peace, I thought it's very, very significant that we speak about women education and how it promotes peace and prosperity. The paper examines the possibility of attaining peace through women's education. How can education advance the status of women and girls across the country? I'm focusing largely our country, and work towards preventing conflicts, protect the most vulnerable populations, and finally transform the societies. This is exactly the problem that we are going to address this afternoon. Drawing on existing literature and various statistics concerned with the women education, I'll require the statistics that is available with regard to the women education across the country. The paper provides an overview of the stage of education with respect to women in India, and subsequently, the social, economic, and cultural benefits the nation may draw by educating its girls' children will be addressed. And from here, the paper would advance to certain philosophical aspects regarding the type of education that deemed fit for women. What type of education should we provide for women? Will a straight-jacketed, fit-for-all type of education fulfill the demands of women to unfold herself best? The paper argues that women's formal education, topped with this philosophical icing, would necessarily lead to a peaceful, just, and sustainable society. Friends, while we all know that education is the best investment towards reducing poverty, strengthening the communities, and bring sustainable development, educating the women mean much more than that. All of us are aware about the popular saying that when a man has been educated, only the individual has been educated. But when you educate a woman, the whole family is educated, and thereby the society and the country at large. Jawaharlal Nehru has popularly said, you can tell the condition of a nation by looking the status of women in that country. Evidently, so that is the case not only with the nation, even with the families, with the societies. As far as India is concerned, despite the tremendous progress made, I suppose that most of you are aware, and most of you as intellectuals are closely watching all this, what is happening across the country. Over the past 20 years, I'm just taking the recent past. I'll also, of course, look at what has happened in the colonial times and post-colonial, post-independent, all that. Very quick revamp. So over the past 20 years, since the initiation of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, girls are still more likely than boys to never set foot in a classroom, and that is a reality in India. But little we realize that the benches at school are the starting point for building peace in the minds of people. Let's begin by taking stock of the situation where we exactly stand with women education. India still has one of the lowest female literacy rates in Asia. India is, of course, working hard. All of us are aware. All of us are part of these exercises. But the pace is so slow. And hence, we haven't achieved what we should have achieved long back. India is ranked 109 amongst the 128 countries in its education index for women. It's a shame. At the start of British Raj till independence, during the British Raj till independence, that is during the colonial period, just 2 to 6% of females were literate. The percentage went up to 15.3 in 1961 post immediately after independence, and 28.5 in 1981, and literacy rate with regard to women crossed 50% in 2001. And by 2011, female literacy rate in India stood almost at 65.46%. Now, the female literacy is definitely increasing, but female literacy rate varies among states, and that is also a reality with regard to India. India almost as a subcontinent, the cultures are different, the nature of the people are different. For instance, in Kerala, 86, we say that now it is 100%. Women are literate, whereas literacy rate in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh is just between 55 to 60%. This is an account little while ago. Probably now it has significantly improved. Shockingly, the rural areas of India have the lowest female literacy rate. Rural Rajasthan, for instance, has less than 12% female literacy rate. And the reason is obvious. I don't have to tell you the reason. Sex-based discrimination is prevalent in India. Girls are considered as parayadhan, the property of someone else. And why refine it? This is the basic question. Particularly, this is so in the north, and where women have been claimed as their own property. For instance, in the northeast, in Kerala, where matriarchal systems are prevalent, women are onto education. So this attitude needs to be addressed. While the education of the male child is like an investment to the family, as the son, since he is likely to be responsible for caring the family if he is educated, women with largely reproductive role in society have little need for education, and any gains from it, even if you educate a girl, anyway, it is likely to accrue to the homes they go to after marriage. And therefore, why we take the trouble? This is the case. There are several government-initiated projects, most of you are aware, to promote girls' education, such as Mahila Samakhya Program, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya Scheme, National Program for Education of Girls at elementary level, and Sakshar Bharat Mission for Female Literacy, etc. And also many private NGOs. The leading ones are Pratham Girls Who Code and Educate Girls Bond. They also are into this task. Apart from these, there are, the state governments. Tamil Nadu is an ideal example for this. They offer there. They were the ones who initiated the midday meal scheme, free distribution of uniforms, and during Jayalalitha's regime, we have witnessed all this, and that has been mimicked by the rest of the states as well, of uniforms and books for girls, and so cycles, laptops, and these days, whatnot, they do a lot of things. But still, we have to work towards many issues. That's what I'm going to address. There are several hurdles to educate a girl child. Their safety as they go to the school. These days, this is very important. And sanitation issues. Even absence of private toilet could be sufficient reason for a girl to stop studying. We need to significantly improve the infrastructure. This is the call of the day. Teacher-student ratio, Modi ji has done a lot towards this. And also the teacher-student ratio, need for female teachers at the primary level, safety of female children, etc., to see to it that our daughters are educated. All these infrastructure requirements are to be catered to see to it that our girl children reach the school. In fact, in the rural India, getting girls to enroll in schools itself is a task. That is the first task. And once surmounted, in fact, girls are more likely than boys to stay on for primary education, because boys, they tend to go out and play and all that. But then girls are interested in studying, so they stay on till the primary. But They pose a challenge again at the secondary level and higher level education. At the secondary level, they may be retained by the family. For the girl child is a vital resource in agriculture and household chores in the rural area. She is an unpaid employee at the family level. She might be given the responsibility of looking after the younger ones or attend to the agricultural requirements, so on and so forth. And therefore, she would be retained home. Here comes the role of the state. Being the largest machinery for dispensing and disseminating education, its role is most primal and influential. India, in its fight against global poverty or its own poverty, happened to overlook women's education. What happened with India was that it thought that first it should address the problem of poverty and then subsequently address the problem, or subsequently it should address the rest of the issues along with women education. But here it went wrong. The priority should have been reversed. Today we realize that women education is the finest tool to fight against poverty. Had India prioritized in attaining women education first, than attending the poverty issue, probably we would have tackled both these issues at one go. Because by educating women, in fact, you are wiping out poverty. And we know that conflict and violence arise out of poverty and inequality. So at one go, you are gaining several things. By empowering women with education, the earning potential of women improves, which necessarily improves the standard of living of the family, since women happen to invest more of their income into their families than men do. And that's also a reality. Even at the higher levels, the state must play a prominent role in preventing gender stereotyping, like pushing all those girls to the arts and literature streams and then preserve the rest for boys and so on and so forth. Gender stereotyping and segregation in education, and encourage our girl children by providing stipends, scholarships, loan. All these are happening. I'm not saying that they are not happening. Loans, transport facilities, guidance, and counseling services to their parents if they hesitate to let the child study what she wants. Here we should not miss out the contributions of our Renaissance leaders. I can't help but remember our great leaders, Renaissance leaders, Rajaram Mohan Roy, particularly Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who worked a lot for the improvement of the education of girl children of our country. Also, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, after whom the Pune University is now named, Periyar from Tamil Nadu, Baba Sahib Ambedkar. They are the names that come along with the rest, whom I have mentioned a little while ago, as they took initiatives to educate the lower caste along with women, all the subaltern group, the marginalized, the so-called. Having taken stock of the situation, let me now highlight some of the social and economic benefits of educating a girl child. Some of them I have already discussed. Education for women would ensure reproductive health. Educated women are less likely to marry young. For instance, a recent survey in India found that infant mortality was inversely related to mothers' educational level. According to the Tribune, women's education could lead up to 60% for women getting pregnant under the age of 70, and which is a rampant situation in the rural India. It also reduces gender-based violence considerably. Education plays a critical role in making girls understand that they have a right over their bodies and empower them to make decisions in all areas of their lives. Now, she can fight against the social evils if she is educated, such as domestic violence, dowry demand, low wages, etc. From reproductive roles, when she has been elevated to the level of product as the productive members of the community, they gain higher self-esteem, since they realize that they are also contributing to the GDP of the country, or even economically to the country. According to the World Bank, countries with limited educational opportunities for women lose $15 to $30 trillion in predicted lifetime earnings. In brief, the women power, if the government wills, can be converted as the power of government itself. Now, the choice is that of the government. If the nation fails to make it, then as Hillary Clinton once has said, it is like self-applied brakes to its journey, the country's journey towards progress. Now, friends, there is a clear link that I see between working to achieve peace and development and ensuring that girls get right education. How do we claim that educated girls happen to ensure peace in the locality? There are multiple reasons for it. The first reason is that women want their families to grow and thrive in peaceful conditions, not to be involved in wars. For family is their heaven. Family is the place where they survive their everything, where they selflessly work and fulfill their feminine desires. They unfold themselves in the heaven called family. It is the natural place where they unfold themselves and realize their spiritual being. I'm consciously using that term. Therefore, she is the guardian angel of this institution called family and would fight tooth and nail against anything that disrupts the peace of it. The second reason is that when there is conflict, women are the most affected. They happen to be the vulnerable community. Take any instance, take our freedom fight when our natives have fought with the British troops, and the British troops in turn attacked the women. And so is the case with the partition. During partition, what has happened, you all know. So any conflict, in the instance of any conflict, it is the women who undergo the suffering. Hence, it is their private requirement, personal requirement, that peace prevails in the society in the interest of their own self-security. When a woman is educated in the family, the whole family changes, the attitude changes, and the outlook changes. She sees to it that her children are best educated, especially her girl children, with fine morals and best civic sense. Even materially, educated women strive to improve their lives, teach her children the basics of health and hygiene, responsibilities towards the family in society. Needless to say, all these hugely contribute to reduce conflict in the society. Now, how does conflict arise? Few words on this. I'm sure a lot of people will adjust onto this, so I leave it to the masters. As Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, I don't subscribe to all the views of Jiddu, but nevertheless, this has attracted me. He once said that conflict arises first in the minds of people. The conflict that you see outside in the world is just a replica or a representation of what is going on within. When there is doxastic incoherence, when your beliefs are incoherent, when you compromise with the incoherence of your beliefs, conflict arises within, and that is what has been projected out. Now, how doxastic incoherence arises in your mind? Simple. When one is orphaned at home, at the young age, when you are orphaned at home, in the society, in the school, or in the world, the doxastic incoherence, you lose your orientation, and there is doxastic incoherence. If a child is morally, culturally, and spiritually orphaned, he will not know what he wants exactly. He will lose self-orientation and becomes an easy target for those who want to trap him to create unrest in the society. And this is rampant today. This brings me back to my original thesis. An aware mother would invariably keep her children close to their cultural lab. You know that your culture is what your mother has taught you. Place the seeds of moral ideas and give him the right education or right orientation to fulfill his life's mission. Here, let me quickly add that in India, women are given awareness even at home. In a way, they have been naturally educated or trained as to how to maintain her family, her children, and work for the betterment of her immediate society. All this she has been taught at home. You would have seen in villages, but though quickly let me add that these days, such instructions hardly been taking place. You would have seen in villages, elderly women take upon the responsibilities of the panchayat president, and they think that if there is any unrest in the locality, they should intervene, even uninvited, and try to resolve the conflict. Why is it? Because there is a basic selflessness element in women, and that is what in function. That's what in function as we see it, that promotes her to take up issues of others as her own. Gandhiji was right here. Today is Gandhi Jayanti. My salutations to him. He was right when he said that women are naturally prone to spirituality compared to men, for they know how to subdue reason with wisdom. As Plato has once said that you will have to subdue your reason with wisdom. And Osho also, though again, I totally disagree with most of what Osho has said, but significantly he has said one thing, that when men think about big things, conceptualize them with no intention to act upon, where men around me in my home, they talk about the relation between India and China, while I speak about what I should cook for the next meal and how I should teach my students at the university. So when men conceptualize things with no intention to act upon, women attend to her immediate surroundings, creatively attend on them, and resolve with her soft skills. If these natural traits are empowered with formal education, women will become the real asset of the nation. In brief, quality education can empower girls, and empowered women are the biggest asset of a nation. For by educating women, not only that half of its population gets educated, it also ensures the bright future of the country, the young India. All fine, but still, to attain the goals of women education and gender equality, these demands remain a far cry. Still, India is nowhere in claiming gender equality or women's education, the target that we have been aiming at. Why is it so? To my mind, an effective dialogue between Hindu religion, all religions born in India, they're all varieties of Hinduism. So religions born in India, Hindu religion to take the lead, culture and modernity. So an effective dialogue with these things is yet to take place. There are several issues that still remain unattended, and sweeping them all neatly under the carpet to give a neat picture of our culture, that we worship women, all those what has been said in the Puranas and all that, citing any number of examples. To say that even in modernity, her place is safe and sound, I think is not going to help us much. To give a neat picture of the culture can hardly help us meet the challenges. The suggestion, therefore, is that the issues of women education, gender equality, and revamp of Hindu religion, redefining the status of women, all should be placed in one single basket. Let me cite an example. For instance, it is very wrong to reduce the tragedy of Malala Yousafzai as a protest just against girls' education. There are several things involved in it. For instance, United States interference, poverty, and government's corruption, instability of the government, all should be brought to attention while speaking about Malala Yousafzai's incident. So is the case with everywhere when you address the case. So is the case with India. You will have to place it in the larger cultural canvas. Due to patriarchal structure is not unique to India. It is not the evil that India alone has produced. That is the case everywhere, the whole globe. So due to this patriarchal structure, women continue to struggle to gain equal opportunities for success and friendship. I must tell you that on several accounts, India is much ahead. I still remember Professor Carol Gold, when she visited India, she visited Bombay University, she came to my university, and she saw in several places women heading the departments, and she went back and told to one of my friends in US that what I liked in India is that several departments are headed by women. See, she was surprised because that doesn't happen in United States of America. So we should also take note of such leadership roles that happen in India. So now added to this, Hinduism is in the post-Sutra period gave in for strict normativity that undermined the social status of women. So what I suggest is a meaningful dialogue between Indian culture, religion, and modernity. Without the leftist framework, that has been happening within the leftist framework, but that doesn't help us. So without the leftist framework, he is long overdue. So statistics shows that On average, women work 6 hours of unpaid domestic labor per day, while men spend only 30 minutes for it. While it's a matter of culture and aesthetics, even for me at least, to have women be the queens of the family. Why? Let her be the queens of the family. She's happy there. Nevertheless, if they're confined to domestic work because they're found ill qualified for public jobs, then the problem is shifted to another realm. Vrunda Dalmia, in her paper, wrote that knowledge of women, why is it that knowledge of women doesn't become part of the official story of knowledge? Because they have more of know-hows than know-thats. For instance, midwife, she knows how to undertake deliver, how to help in a delivery, but she doesn't have true prepositions in her hand, unlike a doctor. So her knowledge doesn't comes into the official story. No, this is what is happening. Women have more of know-hows than know-thats, a set of true prepositions, and therefore they stay away from the official epistemological canvas. Also, educating women has been identified as one of the best tools for sustainable development. All those who have even preliminary understanding on ecofeminism would know that how women and nature are closely aligned. Education of women would mean narrowing down social disparities and inequities, and this would automatically lead to sustainable development. And also, educating girls would result in a faster decrease of population growth, thus playing a significant role in addressing the environmental issues such as climate change. And it has been estimated that educating girls is the sixth most efficient action against climate change, far ahead even of solar farms and nuclear power and so on and so forth. Now let me address the last problem which I have vowed at the beginning. What kind of education is best for the girls? Now, this is a piece of my thought, which you might agree or not. I view that over and above the formal education given for all, in which she should necessarily take part, she should also be made aware of her intimate self, the feminine self. What is it to be a woman? The education should enable her to ask herself what she exactly wants of herself, how she wants to bloom. Subsequently, what is her role in the world as a woman? How can she find self-fulfillment? How can she enlighten herself? The light of which would parallelly remove the darkness of the world around, as is the case with Jivan Mukta. As you know that Sri Ramana Maharshi has beautifully told us that as far as Jivan Mukta is concerned, he is not bound by ethics because he is naturally an ethical being. Sureshwar Acharya also in Nashkarma Siddhi says that quite like in the burning fire, there is no dirt that can happen. So it's the case with Jivan Mukta. You don't have, he doesn't have to be conscious about the ethical principles. So I'm borrowing this idea here. So quite like that, an enlightened woman would naturally brighten the world around. Hence, my appeal is that the education imparted to our girl child should also consist of wisdom that help her realize her feminine being. Now, how exactly that has to be undertaken, that we will have to think about it. I have certain ideas, but any institution or organization is interested in taking this up as a project, well, then even the government should think about it. But then, unfortunately, and it is nor is it wise to, give all the interest, the government with all jobs, like even the institutions, the individual will have to take up the responsibilities for the betterment of the nation. So I said my appeal is that the education imparted to our girl child should also consist of wisdom that help her realize her feminine being. This attainment of the real self would enable her identify herself with the nature, because I often see that woman is nothing but a representation of nature, and that is why she revolts when the nature has been hurt. Take any instance, Chipko movement or the Plachimada instance, when the nature has been hurt, she feels pain because there is an identity drawn between the woman and the nature. As elsewhere in one of my papers in ecofeminism, like Vandana Shiv, all of them have argued this beautifully. So this self-realization would bring peace to the individual, to herself, which will invariably reflect in the immediate society. So this is my appeal, and thank you to Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation and to Swamiji to have given me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with the enlightened audience here. Thank you so much. Narayana Narayana.